In this video tutorial, we will show you how to create a new first-person weapon, loot weapon, and configuring inventory in the Aurora FPS Engine. For this video tutorial, we will download the AKM model from the Asset Store to use it as example. First of all, let's create an equippable item. This is a unique asset file that describes an object that can be added to the inventory. To create it, in the project window, right-click and go to the tab Create, Aurora FPS Engine, Inventory, Equippable Item. Let's configure it. In the Name field, you must enter the name of the item. Let's call it AKM. This name will also be displayed in the interface. In the Type field, you need to enter the type of item. The inventory will sort items by this type. Let's go to the inventory to show this with an example. Let's choose a player which placed in the demo scene. Find the Weapon Inventory System component on Player. This is an extremely powerful and flexible inventory system which allows you to adapt inventory system for any game genre. Open Groups field. By default, two groups, Rifle and Pistol, have already been added here. Open it. In Demo Player, each of the groups contain one slot. This means that a player can store only one pistol-type item and one rifle-type item at the same time. You can create an unlimited number of unique groups and name them in a unique way, as well as create an unlimited number of slots in them. The demo scene player contains a standard configuration, as in many games of the shooter genre. Usually, a player can carry one pistol and one rifle gun. Each slot contains the name of the button with which it can be selected. All buttons are configured through the Input map. You can learn more about Input System from the previous video. Now that you've figured out how inventory works, let's get back to creating weapons. AKM is a rifle, so it should be added to the Rifle group. In the Type field, write Rifle. The First-Person Settings section contains information about the object that will be created in the first-person view when you equip this item. In the Object field, add the prefab of the arms and weapon. And in the Position and Rotation fields, the starting position and rotation settings. You can add here not only guns, it can be any item, for example melee weapon, aid kit, flashlight, crossbow, and etc. The Drop Settings section contains information about the object that will be created when the player throws or drops an item. You can get a detailed description of all fields in the documentation. In the Equip Settings section, you need to specify how much time you need to select an item and hide it accordingly. We recommend right here the animation time of selecting and hiding clips. In the Inventory Settings section, you must specify whether this item can be reused after the first use. Since we are describing a rifle and they can be used repeatedly, we toggle it on True. In the UI Settings section, you can add sprite of the item that will be displayed in the interface. We will leave the Custom Data and Events Settings section for now. They are used to add new custom functionality from the code. These sections will be discussed in a separate series of tutorials on programming with the Aurora FPS Engine. We have almost completely configured this rifle. It remains only to add a prefab from the first-person view and a prefab that will be thrown. The easiest way to create such a prefab is to use ready-made templates. Out of the box, Aurora FPS Engine contains 9 templates of various types of weapons. Let's go to the Templates folder. Aurora FPS Engine, Base Content, Prefabs, Weapon, First-Person Weapons. It contains templates Pistol, Grenade, Knife, Rocket Launcher, Rifle, Machine Gun, Sniper Rifle, Shotgun, and Submachine Gun. All templates are fully configured and contain unique animations. Let's select the template of the rifle and drag it to the scene. Unpack the prefab to make it independent of the template. To do this, right-click on the prefab and select the Unpack Prefab option. Rename Object. Drag the object from the scene to the Project window in order to create a new prefab. Open Prefab. The first-person weapon prefab contains ready-made hand models and animations. To add a new weapon model, you need to attach it to the bones of the skeleton of the hand models. To do this, drag the downloaded model here. Remove all extra components from the model and unpack it. Let's arrange the model according to the original model of the weapon. When you placed a model, you can delete the old model of the weapon. Now we need to attach the new model to the skeleton of the hands. Open Rig, Gun. Drag the parts of the new model to the appropriate sections. Weapon body, gun. Clip, clip. Trigger, trigger. Done. We can watch a preview of the animation. To do this, open the Animation window. Select the desired animation from the list and click the Preview button. In this mode, you can edit the position and rotation of the new weapon in more detail. All objects that are displayed in first-person mode must be added to the first-person weapon layer. Select Root Object. Layer, First-person layer. Press Yes, Change Children option. In the Equippable Object Identifier component, add the equippable item asset that was created earlier for this weapon. This completes the basic settings. Now, optionally, you can perform additional configurations for weapons. The Animator component animates an object using a state controller. By opening the controller, you can change the animations. The Weapon Animator System component sends the required data to the state controller. If you create your own animator controller, you can set your parameters here. The Physics Shooting System component processes shots with realistic, physically active bullets. Aurora FPS Engine also supports shooting with raycasts. To do this, replace the Physics Shooting System component with the Raycast Shooting System. Both systems support the same functions and settings. The Standard Reload System component handles weapon reloading. Here you can set the starting number of bullets and clips, the maximum, minimum number, the reload time, and much more. The Weapon Effect System component allows you to add additional procedural animation effects to the weapon, which will be blended with the animations of the controller. These are the main components. Additional components that can be used with weapons can be found in the documentation. Aurora FPS Engine provides a large list of features for all aspects of systems. Don't forget to save the changes in the prefab. Let's add the created first-person weapon prefab to Equippable Item Asset and set the position, with rotation, for the first-person view. Now we can add the weapon to the slot in the inventory and check it. Everything works perfect. We added weapons to the inventory through the editor, but how to pick up a rifle in the game? It's very simple. Just use a ready-made template. Aurora FPS Engine. Base content. Prefabs. Weapon. Loot weapons. Drag the rifle template at the scene, unpack and rename it. Move the new object to the project window. Let's open a new prefab and configure it. We will remove the standard model of the rifle and replace it with a new one. We will remove the LOD group component since the downloaded model does not have an LOD group. We will replace Mesh Collider with Box Collider. You can use any type of collider. Make sure you use 2 colliders. One of them is marked as a trigger. It will be used to handle the boundaries of the weapon's visibility for picking up. The second collider is used to detect physical collisions. In the Loot Weapon component, we will pass the AKM Equippable item. This prefab is optimized by the pool system. In the Pool Object component, in the Advanced Settings section, you will need to set a unique identifier for this prefab. When you add the Pool Object component manually, the ID is generated automatically. However, since we copied the prefab template, its components copied too. So we need to enter a new identifier here. You can enter any value here, or select the Reset option and the ID will be regenerated automatically. Done. Let's save the prefab and check. In the Loot Canvas object, you can specify the name and description that will be displayed when the player is near the weapon. Let's save the prefab and check. As you can see, using inventory, creating a new first-person and lootable weapons with the Aurora FPS engine is very simple. In a similar way, you can create any types of weapons. Thanks for watching and see you in the next videos.